Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. Today, we are discussing how you can take control of your virtualization journey to do things like reduce cost, eliminate vendor lock-in, and also simplify hybrid IT, all while setting the stage for you and future modernization that you may need with HPE Morpheus VM Essentials software. My name is James Hilliard. Glad to be here hosting this conversation. I am joined by Mark Kravitz. He's the Senior Manager for Global Category Sales for Cloud Ops Software at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And also on board is Mark Millward. He is the Solutions Architect over at TechPower. And a couple of things we're going to cover in the next 15 minutes or so is how organizations like yours can transform the way that you're approaching virtualization. We'll talk about the relationship between TechPower and HPE and why the two of them combined with your organization can set you up for success. And then we definitely will be getting into HPE Morpheus VM Essentials and some of the promises of the technology that HPE has been working hard on. Mark, welcome to both of you. And Mark Kravitz, the reason there's been a lot of work on the HPE side is 2 years ago, there was some disruption in the marketplace. We had the Broadcom VMware acquisition, a lot of changes. We're facing a lot of customers out there. So what I want to ask you is 2 years post that, Mark, what are the questions that customers are coming to you and to HPE now and asking about options within the virtualization world?
Yeah, no, and James, it's great to be with you. So, you kind of mentioned, you hinted to a little bit of the concerns in your intro. Obviously, costs are still a big factor within this. I think a lot of customers are evaluating when their renewals are coming up. Does it make sense to make a change? And I think if they do want to go make a change, is that new vendor, is that licensing model going to be going to lock them in for a period so they're not going to be surprised again overnight? Obviously, lock-in continues to be a concern. Are there vendors out there that have the same type of solutions or features that I need, or am I locked in to my current vendor? And then I just think the risk of change is something that a lot of customers I think are dealing with right now, right? A lot of these customers we work with, VMware is running their core business applications. So any disruption or any downtime to this could have a major effect on the business. So I think there's a lot of caution as customers are looking into this. And then lastly, I think it's the operational complexity of things, right? There's concern about, are we meeting the needs of the business from an IT delivery standpoint, from a reliability standpoint? And, if we bring in a different model, how does that add to the complexity of what we're managing on-prem as well as what we might be managing in the cloud? And this might not be something that we can scale. So I think complexity is also an issue with this, in addition to some of the other items that we mentioned.
Most of the technology professionals that I've had the pleasure to talk to over the last 25 years or so are pretty risk averse. And you brought up the fact that this could be a major change. This is dealing with their core operations. Let's do a little bit of maybe a compare contrast. Let's talk about Morpheus VM Essentials and how it might change the way that folks manage and operate and really scale their virtual environments. How does that compare what you're offering at HPE to what maybe they have been doing in the past?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we've done, and it's around the licensing model, is that we wanted to make this more predictable, right? So a lot of the challenge what customers are dealing with is that move to core-based licensing and them having to look at what that cost is versus being able to run, being able to deploy the different types of workloads that they need. And so we went to a socket-based licensing. You're paying one price per socket. It doesn't matter how many cores you're running. And so that can drive a lot more predictability for looking at the workloads that might be coming down the path, maybe more AI workloads, right? That now I might be able to budget more for. So I think that was very key. The other one was the flexibility in terms of how customers can consume this, meaning I think a lot of customers were concerned about the options out there where maybe I might have to do a full rip and replace of my hardware stack just to incorporate a virtualization solution. And so what we've tried to do is provide a more open and flexible offering that doesn't force customers into an uncomfortable situation. So they can purchase software and they can build it themselves. The good thing is that we have we're certifying lots of different vendor platforms out there. So they will have choice in terms of what they're, if they are stuck with a hardware vendor, we're not going to force them to have to go off that. We have a lot of customers that like the hyper-converged model because of the simplification that it drives for managing VMs. And so we have that as well as the full private cloud stack. So I think that in itself is we give customers a lot more options and not force them to have to say make compromises. And the last piece is really about the simplification, right? When customers are making a change and they're looking at kind of the resources that they have with their staff, they don't want to bring in complexity, right? They want more of we want to help them get to more of a cloud operating model, similar experience to what they have in a public cloud. And so that is what the promise of what Morpheus Data did. So we acquired Morpheus Data, which is the technology that this is based on a couple of years ago. And their whole value prop was taking a hypervisor cluster and turning into a private cloud, enable you to easily manage and automate a number of the day-to-day tasks. And so we've brought that premise to VM Essentials, but we've allowed the customer to really manage a couple of different things. We bring that to both the ability to manage VM Essentials virtual machines as well as VMware. Because what we're seeing is a lot of customers are going to have a dual hypervisor strategy. That could bring in complexity. And so that's what Morpheus VM Essentials can do is bring all those things together, give a simple way for customers to manage, and oh, by the way, provide a migration path that as they're ready, we have an easy way to be able to get their VMs onto lower cost platforms.
If we were doing like a tech bingo card, you just called off things like simplicity, flexibility, choice. Those are all things that I know that IT teams are looking for when they're dealing with choosing which technologies are they going to utilize, especially in a situation like this where this could be a major change for all of them. That sounds very deliberate on HPE's part to allow for that. And usually it's partners that really know the customers best. And you also made a very deliberate choice, as far as I understand, that you want to make this a channel play, a partner play, so that partners like TechPower out there who really know their customers can really guide them and hold their hand through a major change if that's what's needed, instead of just going a vendor only route.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. So we made a decision when we launched the solution that it was going to be a 100% partner play for us, meaning we transact this through, we work through our partners. And a lot of that is our partners are deeply trusted with our customers. They have long-term relationships. And a project like this where it can bring in risk, it's very important for us to be able to rely on channel partners to be able to help them deploy these solutions. So partners like TechPower, who we have long-term relationships with, almost nearly 30 years, around all aspects of our technology, from compute, from storage, and now what we're doing in the cloud ops software space with Morpheus VM Essentials. They can provide a lot of those value-added services to help reduce risk. So, specifically, we work with partners that can help guide the customer through all those steps in the virtualization journey, whether that's initial qualification, assessment, a proof of concept, designing a deployment and a migration plan. All of those things are very critical and to help reduce risk. And so it's upon us that we made the decision that our partners are the best ones that can help bring that to market for their customers, and that's why we're investing very heavily in this space.
And Mark, over at TechPower, perfect opportunity to mix you in here. Again, nearly 3 decades of your organization working with HPE on all sorts of technologies. I want to know how things have evolved in the recent years, now dealing with your customer base that are looking for alternatives in the virtualization environments. How has that grown? How has the relationship looked these days? How do you support each other?
The partnership between TechPower and HPE has evolved from a traditional hardware-centric relationship into a more strategic advisory collaboration focused on hybrid cloud and AI readiness solutions. As customers navigate this great VM reset, which is the result of rising licensing costs, as we all know, and the complexity of hybrid environments, our partnership is now prioritizing providing clarity through alternative virtualization solutions. A couple of key ways of this evolution are, the virtualization alternatives. We now leverage HPE Morpheus VM Essentials, which is a KVM-based hypervisor that serves as a direct alternative to VMware vSphere. This solution can offer up to a 90% cost savings through per socket licensing rather than per core licensing models as VMware has. The partnership also emphasizes a cloud operating model where customers can manage both existing VMware clusters and new VM Essentials clusters side by side using the HPE VM Essentials Unified Management Platform. So beyond the deployment, the partnership includes comprehensive advisory and professional services to help customers assess and future-proof their infrastructure for AI and next-generational workloads.
And that definitely is something that folks are looking for these days because the changes that are coming are faster than ever before. And so making sure that they're making investments in technologies that they know that are going to handle today's business, but ready for that next wave is very important. Let me talk to you, Mark, and get some insights from you, from your customer base, right? They engage with you. They come to TechPower and say, hey, we got some choices. We need to prioritize some things within our virtualization projects and journey and all that. And you make some promises. But what is it that customers come back and say, man, Mark, this was our aha moment. This was that above and beyond that you brought to the table that we didn't maybe really expect, but man, has provided some great dividends moving forward.
Yeah, I think it was through the ability to see the interface and the simplistic nature of the VME tool. Having the customers that we've worked with recently, they realized it was almost like a cloud Amazon offering type solution where it's a pre-canned mix of selecting the nice virtualization platform that you want to deploy and having that simplistic nature of everything just in that single interface, not only to manage the new HPE Morpheus VM Essentials platform, but also the VMware platform as well. And having that correlation between the two, it kind of reduces that risk of having a brand new environment all stand by itself, where you can actually now mix the two together and have that comfort.
And have you found, as you are engaging with your customers, whether they're preliminary talks or they're further down the road, that each one of those journeys really is kind of unique? And so your personal touch in there and understanding where they're at, where they want to go, what they've invested in already, that really is helping smooth out that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having that direct access to HPE's expertise and understanding our own expertise in regard to our knowledge of not only the new hypervisor platform, but the existing, kind of talking them through that the migration plan that they're going to come up against and kind of give them that comfort feeling, okay, we can do this and we're going to have some hurdles, but this is the steps to overcome those hurdles as we go forward. It's been one of those moments where we've had customers see the actual demo of the environment and they feel, wow, that's really straightforward. So with that being said, that just having that ability to demo the environment, have that value of the back end support either through us or through HP has come a long ways.
Copy. Let's do this. I want to get a little practical, tactical here. Kravitz, I'll start with you. Someone has been evaluating maybe HPE Morpheus VM Essentials at the highest of levels, and now they're getting down to like, I want to get some hands on this, or I want to really see if this really can do what I need it to do. What's a good next step to move this process forward, the conversation forward?
Great question. Yeah, I know there's a lot of hesitancy to jump right into a proof of concept. I think what we like to do is let's get the foundation first. Let's really get an understanding of what the needs are. Because at the end of the day, what we might be able to find out is there might be some optimizations we could do in the current environment that make VMware more cost effective. Or is there a dual hypervisor strategy? Or are there certain features that we don't need going forward? And so those are things that we can help with along with TechPower through an assessment. And we have a number of different assessment technologies that allow us to gather that empirical data directly out of the customer's environment, understand what's going on in their VMware environment, understands what's going on in their infrastructure. What are those vCPU requirements? What are those storage requirements? So we can help them understand. So when as a customer, you're making decisions going forward, you're basing it off actual data and reducing a lot of that risk in terms of time and money and things like that. So that's typically what we like to lead with in this type of engagement.
And Mark, on the TechPower side, maybe walk us through just briefly, high level, but a team is reaching out to you and says, hey, we want to check out this, Morpheus VM Essentials. What does it look like? What's that process look like early on when engaging with the TechPower team?
Yeah, great question, James. Yeah, kind of coinciding with Mark's comments. The next best step is to regain the control is to engage us for that free virtualization assessment using the cloud physics, as Mark mentioned. It's a structured engagement. We use the data-driven resulting data points to provide a clear roadmap for transitioning from legacy licensing models to the more cost-effective HPE Morpheus VM Essentials platform. So there's basically about 5 steps for the engagement process. First off, we'd like to have a virtualization strategy workshop. We start with a high-level session to identify your specific challenges, such as a rising VM licensing cost that we all know, or explore how a hybrid cloud operating model can possibly simplify your environment. Second of all, we'd like to perform a HPE Cloud Physics assessment, like we mentioned. We can deploy that as a non-invasive tool to analyze your current VMware infrastructure. This will identify candidates for migration and provides an immediate comparison of your current core cost versus HPE socket pricing. Third is to have a live technical demo. As I mentioned before, that is really the aha moment that a lot of customers will see the simplistic nature of it. We can provide that demonstration and then see how you can manage both your existing VMware vCenter and the new HVM clusters from a single interface. And fourth is to perform a proof of concept. Leverage a free 60-day 6-socket trial license to test drive the hypervisor. This will allow your team to experience the migration process with no risk and give you a full understanding of how the tool actually works and the simplistic nature of it. And the fifth, we'll receive a financial value analysis. TechPower will provide that final reporting detailing the potential savings and a customized roadmap for the migration based upon the findings of that assessment. So that's kind of the 5 steps that we recommend to proceed with that proof of concept.
No, I appreciate that insight there. And here's what we want to do, folks. Again, high level here to engage with you in conversation, share a couple of the promises of Morpheus VM Essentials and some of the things that teams are already benefiting from to help you make your decision and evaluate more. And that brings us to reaching out to the TechPower team. So a couple things that you can do. If you want to send an email to reach out and engage, you can do so. Information at techpowerusa.com. Also, if you just simply go to techpowerusa.com, then you can get more information on everything that they have to offer and all the services that are available to you over there. I really appreciate both Marks for joining me in conversation here today. Folks, thank you for taking time to join us as well. We're going to leave you with all that. Again, techpowerusa.com and information at techpowerusa.com for more. With that, have a great day, and we do look forward to talking to you all down the road.